Hi, I'm Angus Kress Gillespie, your host for Old Ways in New Jersey, here on East Brunswick Television. Thanks for joining us. As you probably already know, New Jersey is one of the most ethnically diverse states in the nation. In a recent census, some 18% of New Jerseyans were of foreign birth. The leading countries of origin were Italy, Cuba, India, and Germany. But there are many other ethnic groups coming into New Jersey. They're not as well known. One of these lesser-known groups is the Garifuna, who are triracial descendants of Carib, Arawak, and West African peoples. Originally from the island of St. Vincent, they ended up in Belize, Honduras, and Guatemala. More recently, some of them have settled in North America. I'm here in the studio with Eleanor Bullock, a leading figure in the renaissance of Garifuna culture in the New York and New Jersey region. So it's my pleasure to welcome Eleanor into our studio today. Eleanor, who are the Garifuna anyway? Can you fill us in on their history?
I'll do that as best as I can. As far as I know, the Garifunas originated from the Orinoco, from South America. They migrated to the Caribbean, including St. Vincent and the Grenadines, also Dominica, Martinique, St. Lucia. But our history says that the Garifunas were the indigenous Carib Indians of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. A new race was created, we hear, as a result of a shipwreck of Africans from West Africa. And when the ship wrecked, they mingled with the yellow Caribs and created a race called the Black Caribs. And they were known as the Black Caribs until later on throughout the years, they started using their indigenous name, the Garifuna. That's where the Garifuna name came in after they started using their indigenous name. So they were still in St. Vincent, I understand, until they were exiled from in 1796 by the British, and with the exile were 5,000 Black Caribs or the Garifunas from St. Vincent. The first island they were taken to were Balisao, and they traveled on, and from Balisao, a lot of them passed away, died because they were there with no food, nothing to eat. And by the time they were taken off the island of Balisao, they landed in Central America, which includes, you can find them now today in Guatemala, in Nicaragua, in Honduras, and of course Belize, which is where I'm from. I was born in Belize.
And so basically you have a people, a race of people, triracial in effect, Carib, Arawak, and African, who don't have a homeland. Sort of it's a people without a state.
You're absolutely right, because their home state was St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And after the exile, they landed in all these other countries, but they weren't originally from there. They just live there today.
So the Garifuna have their own flag, even if they don't have their own country?
Garifuna, I believe, created their own flag, which is a yellow, black, and white, and it symbolizes the yellow for the yellow Caribs, the black is for the African that they're mixed with, and the white is supposed to be for peace. So you will see yellow, black, and white is the symbol of the Garifuna flag.
Well, exploring the history a little more, who was Joseph Chatouille?
Joseph Chatouille was believed to be the last Garifuna chief in St. Vincent that fought with the French and the British. We were told that he was the actual leader of the Carib nation. The history in the books indicate that he was the leader of the Black Carib War, Joseph Chatouillet. So he's honored as the Garifuna last warrior chief, Joseph Chatouillet. So we see him.
And he was
still
killed in combat with the British.
We heard that he was last killed in combat with the British, and after he died, the Garifuna nation just kind of lost a leader and
was subject to exile.
It was subject to exile.
And who was Thomas Vincent Ramos?
Thomas Vincent Ramos, I understand he was from Honduras. He was one of the legendary Garifuna activists that migrated to Belize, Dangriga particularly, where I was born, and he tried to bring the Garifuna nation together to make us be aware of who we are. He tried to make sure that we taught the children our culture, our language, and some of the things that he knew that Garifunas were all about.
And can you tell us a little bit about the significance of Garifuna Settlement Day?
The Garifuna Settlement Day, I believe, is the result of organization that TV Ramos put together to celebrate the arrival of the Garifuna to Dangriga. Dangriga was once known as Stan Creek, which is a town in Belize that the majority people that live in Dangriga are Garifuna people. TV Ramos put together an organization for the Garifuna people to build hope, to keep their culture alive, to promote their culture, to preserve the culture. And so every 19th of November is what's called Garifuna Settlement Day. So they do a big, huge celebration of the life of TV Ramos for incorporating that day, and they celebrate Garifuna culture with lots of festivities.
And I understand the Garifuna have their very own language.
Yes, we do. Garifuna, one of the things when the Garifunas were exiled from St. Vincent, even though they migrated or they are found in many regions, one of the things that they did which was very important, was they kept their language. They kept their culture, they kept their food, but language was very important to them because they taught it to each generation until, of course, just recently, it's beginning to die. We have a Garifuna language that I believe is a mixture of French, Spanish, and African. That's what I was told, because when some of the West Africans hear our language, they can kind of hear some things. And I was also told that the language came from the Arawak Indians.
Yes.
That it's a mixture of that. And then, of course, probably some French also, because the French were there.
I noticed a lot of the first names of the women are French.
Are French.
Yeah. And which leads me to another point. I don't know a whole lot about the Garifuna language, but I understand that some terms are used by men and some terms are used by women.
I've heard that too. I've heard that a lot, because it's a little difficult now, because my generation, when we talk Garifuna, we somewhat mix it with English. But I hear the true Garifunas, there were some terms that were used for the male when they speak, and terms that used for the female when they speak. So,
but But here in the U.S., that's sort of died out, I guess, that distinction.
Perhaps not if we still have the older generation of Garifuna. I believe if we were to get them together, the men and the women, and ask them the same question, they could probably show you an example of some the language that is male and the language that is female.
But let's bring it back to you, Eleanor. What was it like growing up in a coastal village in Belize in Central America when you were a little girl?
I didn't realize that I was somewhat different in that I had a different culture, because we went to a school that taught us English. We spoke English, but when we came home, because I was raised by my grandmother, all she spoke to us was Garifuna. And what was interesting about growing up with my grandmother was some of the history of the Garifuna that she would tell us about, that she knew of.
And Garifuna society today, back in Belize, it's based largely on farming and fishing, is that correct?
It was before I came to America. I don't think it's that much now, but before I came to America, most of our living and how we sustained ourselves was by fishing. Many of my uncles and family members were fishermen. My aunts and other uncles also were farmers. So they did a lot of farming. And they also made things. They made furniture. They made boats. When I was growing up, I saw that for myself.
And you yourself, did you help out with the farming?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
And you had to walk a long way to get to the farm?
Yes, I did. Walk 2.5 miles from home in the morning before school to go to the farm to help my grandmother reap the farm.
Did you have shoes when you were going to an?
No, we did not. Why did you ask that? You must have heard my story before.
Yeah.
Yes, my grandmother would wake us up. I had 5. It was 5 daughters to my mom. It was 5 of us, and I remember me and my older sister, or 2 older sisters. We would walk to the farm 2.5 miles with no shoes, get to the farm, reap the farm, clean the farm, pull off fruits with no shoes.
So, have you taken up gardening here in the U.S.?
No, absolutely not. I think I have a phobia from going into the garden because of that.
Yeah. Well, Eleanor, let's change subject a little bit. Talk about Garifuna music. Obviously, it's very percussive. It has a lot of African influences.
It has a lot of African influences, but it also has a lot of Indian influences. I believe the African influences of the Garifuna dance could be seen with the type of drums that we use. We use a set of drums called the primero, which is the first drum, and the segunda is the second drum. So those 2 drums are primarily the drums that we use for our music. And when you hear those drums, particularly the second drum, the segunda, you can hear the heavy beating of the drum. As a matter of fact, the segunda, a bigger version of the segunda, is a drum we call it a dugu drum. It is used in the temple for some of our spiritual celebrations.
To pay homage
to the ancestors. We use a huge drum called the dugu drum. It's very, very hollow and deep and very, very strong. That I could see the relationship in the music with Africans when I hear the dugu drum and our drumming. On the other hand, some of the Indian aspect in our music and our dancing is in this dance called Jankanu, is American name for it, and the Wanaragua is the Garifuna name for it. It is you can compare it to the Indians when they dance the powwows.
Yeah.
Because they do a lot of the jumping, and as a matter of fact,
they dance in a circle.
they dance it in the circle. We dance it most also when during the celebration. We dance it also in the circle, and individuals go and they exhibit their style and they dance the Wanaragua. Believe it or not, it's one of my favorite. It's one of my favorite genres. The music I love, the dancing I love, and just the portrayal of the footwork. It's very, very interesting.
It's hard to sit still when you hear this music.
It's hard to sit still when you hear any Garifuna music
Yeah.
because it's the drums, and I think the drums make someone want to move. It gets to the heart when you're beating.
From what I've been reading, originally the drums were made out of carved mahogany logs, sort of carved out piece of tree.
Yes.
And then the skin was from the peccary or the wild hogs.
Yes.
Yeah. But in
very
addition,
difficult to find today.
Yeah. In addition to the drums, there were a number of other percussive instruments, and I see you brought a couple of them along. The cowrie shells?
That is the Wanaragua. There's a costume that the Wanaragua dancers use when they dance the Wanaragua or Jankono. It starts with a headpiece that unfortunately I don't have. It's a headpiece that they wear, and the headpiece comes with feathers that belongs to maybe hens or different big, huge feathers. So that's the headpiece that they wear. And then there's a mask that they wear, which
like this.
we have. Yes, they put this on their faces. I'm not sure what it symbolizes, but they wear a mask, and they also wear ties around the neck because nothing on their face or skin is supposed to be revealed. And then coming down, they usually wear, from Belize, as a matter of fact, they have different styles because the Honduranians, their style of dancing the Wanaragua is completely different from those from Belize. But in Belize, they wear a white shirt, sometimes black, white, sometimes black pants, white shirt, black shirt, white pants, and then they wear ribbons, and then they put these shells right there, those shells over there.
Like this.
They put them, yes, those shells, they put them on their knees.
Well, it seems to me like if this was on my knees and I was moving around,
it makes noise. Professor,
very...
that noise right there brings a lot of memories to me when I was a child, because the Wanaragua is danced as for Christmas. Every Christmas morning, or every Christmas, the Garifunas exhibit their dances, and one of the main dances that they exhibit is the Wanaragua. So early in the morning, after they have costumed themselves, the Wanaragua dancers, they would be, some of them who lived in our neighborhood, they would walk to go to where they gather.
You hear them walking.
And we hear them walking. And we wake up that morning hearing the Jankono or Wanaragua dancers walking. That to us, it's Christmas time.
Huh.
Yeah, that was that. I remember those days.
And the music is also punctuated by the gourds, which are dried and they have the seeds inside, and that can be used as a percussive instrument.
Yes.
Like these.
Yes.
Which are quite loud.
Yes, those are our percussion. Yes, we call them chaka.
Yeah.
Those are our chakas, and those are used as percussion. As a matter of fact, when they play them, and then the drumming behind that makes very good percussion.
I'll say.
Not music. Yes.
What I'm curious about the status of health and nutrition among the Garifuna today.
I am not that well knowledgeable about it, except the fact that I believe the Garifunas went from eating a lot of fish to regular eating meat and pork. But I believe when they ate a lot of fish, they had longevity. There's not much longevity today in the Garifuna culture because of the changes in our health and eating habits.
The fish-based diet was undoubtedly more healthy.
I believe so, yeah, and we were big with the fish-based diet at one time.
And again, I haven't really visited Belize, but I have studied the photographs. It looks like a lot of the thatch-covered huts are gradually being replaced by cement blocks.
Yes, cement. Well, that's because we're modernized today, and the thatch houses, because there's a lot of hurricane now in Belize, Dangriga, the thatch houses wouldn't last with just even the wind from hurricane.
So the cement block houses are an improvement.
It's a great improvement compared to the thatch. But however, the thatch houses are still used for the celebration of the ancestors. They still have thatch houses for those type of activities.
And I imagine they use the thatched houses for the temples as well.
Yes.
Okay. What about literacy among the Garifuna in Central America today?
Back home, I'm not so sure because I've left there a long time ago. But when I do go back, I notice some improvements, but I think there could be more. And I believe that's where myself come in, because we've lived here and we migrated very long time ago to America, and we are hoping to connect with other Belizeans or Dangrigans like ourselves who have been educated and have a lot of skills and talents, and get together so that we can try to give back to our community.
Well, you have a foundation.
Yes, we have an organization called GAME. GAME is spelled G-A-M-A-E, and it stands for Garifuna Arts, G-A, Garifuna, G-A-M, Garifuna Medicine, Garifuna Agriculture, and Garifuna Education. And Game is a Garifuna word which means we have. And it means we have it now. That means we now have our arts, we now have our medicine, we now have our agriculture and education, and we are going to, our goal is to use our organization, GAME, to give back to Belize, Dangriga, and use our sources and our skills and education to help our country.
Well, at the risk of sounding sentimental, that sounds like a very worthwhile thing to do.
We're hoping for that.
Yeah.
That's why we're looking forward to the program, our Garifuna, the Folk Arts Festival program that's coming up. We're looking forward to meeting individuals like yourself. We're looking forward to hopefully this program that'll help us promote GAME so that we can, and the goal is to teach and train youth, children, youth, and young adults to go back. Go back.
That's a nice lead into my next question, which
Wonderful.
was, you Garifuna, or here in the United States, what are you doing to pass the traditions along to the next generation?
What I do personally, I'm a teacher. I teach and I train, and I've done this for years because when I learned about my culture, it made me become very passionate about the need for me to help preserve the Garifuna culture and promote the Garifuna culture. And so what I do, what I've done for a very long time is train children. I had an organization called Ilagale years ago, but now I am using GAME to do what I did with Ilagale. I train children. As a matter of fact, a couple of years ago, I've done two seminars and workshops to teach children back in Belize. I've done seminars and workshop for the first time in St. Vincent and the Grenadines when I went back to our homeland to teach children. We had a workshop with over 100 children that came together to learn their language and learn their culture. I've been blessed because I'm the last generation, unfortunately, that still speak the language. So I teach the language.
Good.
I teach the dance. I teach the culture. And I'm very happy. It's one of my passions that I do that.
Eleanor, what do you know about your family surname, your maiden name?
I don't know much about Castillo because my family name is Castillo, but I do know that Castillo's is a Spanish last name. I've heard many versions, Castello, Castillo, but I believe it's pronounced Castillo, Castillo, and there are many of us in Dangriga, so we believe we are related because of that. Because, by the way, Professor, a little bit less than 300 Garifunas landed in Dangriga, November 19th. We were told. So we tend to tell each other, oh, we got to be related. It's not that many that landed here for us not to be related. On November 19th, 1823, I believe, a little less than 300 Garifunas landed in Dangriga. So, and when we got there with our last names, which was mostly Spanish last name. Many of us have Castillo, Ramirez, Martinez. So we have a lot of Spanish influence in our last names.
Are there any traditional first names in your family?
No, that I don't think we have any traditional first names. We have traditional last names.
Do the Garifuna have an acute awareness of their ancestors?
Absolutely. We talk about our ancestors almost in every other conversation that we partake in. We believe in our ancestors. We honor our ancestors. We have ceremonies celebrating our ancestors. It's just a part of who we are. We talk about our ancestors because we feel that they're always there with us, for us. Me, for example, when I started teaching the Garifuna culture, I feel that I owe it to my ancestors to teach Garifuna, to promote Garifuna, and to try to preserve it. I feel that it's coming from them.
And a related question, are dreams important to the
Dreams are very important. Dreams are very important. As a matter of fact, some of our songs, because some of our songs that are created in Garifuna is about our life, our culture. Dreams are very important because we try to remember our dreams because we grew up to understand or to believe that dreams play a role in our lives. And for example, many Garifunas believe the dreams that we have is related to those of our family members who have gone before us, coming to us in our dreams. So we try to remember what they are. We try to honor them if they come to us in dreams, and we do those kinds of things. Dreams very important.
Eleanor, I want to thank you for sharing your culture with us today here in East Brunswick. I really appreciate your coming out.
And thank you very much for having me. I appreciate being here. I appreciate the invitation. Thank you.